Our story begins with a man named Thomas Blackwood, a successful but rather reclusive painter. He had become well known in the art world, yet still he preferred to keep to himself in his small cottage far away from prying eyes. However, recently he found himself growing tired of his old life. So he decided it was time for a change, a fresh start in a new place where no one knew him. And so he set off to explore the countryside, searching for the perfect home. It wasn't long before he came across an estate that immediately caught his eye. Despite its old age, the home exuded an undeniable charm, and Thomas couldn't resist its allure. Though he was surprised to find the home was listed for a sale at such a low price, given its size and apparent upkeep, it seemed almost too good to be true. Nonetheless, he purchased the home without hesitation and moved right in. As soon as he stepped inside, he could feel the weight of years pressing down on him. Cobwebs brushed against his skin, and the scent of decay filled his nostrils. Still, he saw potential in the dilapidated rooms and began planning his restoration. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, Thomas felt the house enveloping him in its embrace. It was as if the very walls were reaching out to him, whispering secrets from beyond the grave. He ventured into the attic, where dust motes danced in the faint light filtering through cracks in the boarded windows. Among the debris, he discovered a hidden compartment containing a collection of old photographs. The images depicted a family frozen in time, their smiles echoing the joy that once resonated within these four walls. In one picture, he saw a young girl standing on the steps leading to the front door. Her innocent gaze seemed to linger on his own, and he couldn't shake the feeling that her eyes held a hidden sadness. Thomas continued his exploration, each room revealing another layer of the house's rich history. Yet amidst the beauty, he sensed a profound melancholy, a haunting undercurrent that seemed to permeate every corner. It was as if the house itself were weeping, mourning a loss that transcended time. One day, as he stood gazing out a window, he noticed a single tear that traced a path down the glass. Startled, he reached out to wipe it away, only to find that it reappeared moments later, joined by another and another until a steady stream flowed down the pane. Puzzled and disturbed, he decided to investigate. He cleaned the window thoroughly, believing that perhaps some liquid had been inadvertently left behind. But no matter how hard he tried, the tears refused to stop. It was as though the glass itself were weeping. Overcome with a sense of foreboding, Thomas decided to summon a local expert. Hemlock, a man renowned for his knowledge of all things arcane. When he arrived, he examined the window intently, his face creased in thought. Finally, he turned to Thomas and uttered a single, "It's the house." These cryptic words did little to alleviate Thomas's confusion, but Hemlock insisted that Thomas needed to understand that this house had a story, a tragic tale that had left its mark on the very fabric of its being. Hemlock explained that the house wasn't merely weeping. It was lamenting a profound sorrow that had seeped into its walls, a sorrow that now threatened to consume Thomas as well. He warned Thomas that he might be in danger, urging him to listen closely to the house's mournful tale. And so Hemlock began his tale. He spoke of a family who had lived in the house over 100 years ago, a family whose tragedy had reverberated through time. He told of a loving husband and wife who had shared a deep bond with their daughter, but their happiness was short-lived. Their daughter had fallen in love with a man her parents disapproved of. Despite their pleas, she went ahead and married him. And shortly after, she gave birth to a baby girl. But their joy was cut short when the young couple perished in a fire that swept through their town. The little girl was taken in by her parents, who doted on their granddaughter, but they couldn't help but notice the sorrow that seemed to cling to her. As she grew older, the girl became increasingly withdrawn, finding solace only in her artwork. She poured her grief and loneliness onto the canvases, creating haunting masterpieces that mirrored the turmoil within her soul. But as her art became more intense, so did her sadness, until one day she took her own life, leaving behind a legacy of pain and a house filled with sorrow. And now, Hemlock explained that sorrow was seeping into the very walls of the house, seeking to envelop anyone who dared to enter. Thomas listened intently, his mind racing to comprehend the depth of sorrow that had been contained within these walls for so long. He realized that the house wasn't just a house. It was a vessel of grief, a monument to a love lost and a life cut short. Yet he couldn't help but feel a strange sense of connection to the house and its tragic inhabitants. He understood their pain, having felt his own share of loss and longing. And he couldn't bear the thought of their suffering continuing any longer. Determined to help, Thomas embarked on a mission to uncover the truth behind the family's tragic demise. He scoured through old records and spoke to the few remaining townsfolk who remembered the house as former occupants. Slowly, he pieced together the fragments of their story, revealing a tale of forbidden love, unfulfilled dreams, and a community forever scarred by the tragedy that had unfolded within these very walls. As he learned more about the family, Thomas felt a growing sense of empathy and understanding. He realized that their story wasn't just a relic of the past, but a testament to the enduring power of love and the complexities of human emotion. And as he stood in the house, surrounded by the echoes of their laughter and sorrow, he felt a deep sense of responsibility to honor their memory. With newfound purpose, Thomas began his work, determined to transform the house from a symbol of sorrow to a monument of remembrance. He painted the walls in hues of soft blue and green, creating a calming atmosphere that seemed to soothe the house's troubled spirit. And in the center of the house, he created a sanctuary dedicated to the family, filled with their photographs and personal belongings. As he worked, he could feel the presence of the family growing lighter, their energy becoming more peaceful. It was as if they were finally able to move on, free from the burden of their sorrow. However, despite the progress he was making, Thomas couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The house seemed to be reacting to his every move, its floorboards creaking and its windows fogging up as if in response to his actions. He could feel its sadness seeping into his own thoughts, threatening to consume him. One night, as he sat alone in the house, he heard a sound that sent chills down his spine. It was the sound of footsteps pacing back and forth, slow and heavy, as if someone were walking the halls outside his door. He tried to dismiss it as a figment of his imagination, but the sound persisted, growing louder with each passing moment. Then he heard a voice, a whisper that carried on the breeze, calling his name. And suddenly he knew that the house didn't want him to leave. It wanted him to stay and become a part of its sorrowful tale. But as much as he had grown attached to the house and its inhabitants, Thomas knew he couldn't stay. He had come here to find peace and solace, but he had only succeeded in uncovering a wound that had been festering for over a century. With a heavy heart, he packed his belongings, ready to move on. But as he stepped outside the house for the final time, he turned back to face the door. It was then that he noticed something strange. The doorknob, which had been tarnished and worn when he first arrived, now gleamed like new, polished to a shine that seemed almost unnatural. It was as if the house itself had been waiting for him to leave. As he walked away, he could feel the house's sorrow lifting, its grip on his soul finally loosening. He looked back one last time, and that's when he saw it. a single ray of sunlight breaking through the clouds and illuminating the house in a warm glow. For the first time in a century, light seemed to be pushing back the darkness, offering a glimmer of hope in the midst of despair. In the end, Thomas had not only uncovered the tragic tale of a family lost, but had also helped to heal the wounds of a house burdened by grief. And as he moved on to his next chapter, he carried with him the memory of those he had never met and the knowledge that sometimes the greatest sorrows can lead to the most beautiful resolutions.